Hi, welcome to Purna Talks. I hope you are having a very good day. So far we have learned on how do we think in a critical manner, how do we learn using fast technique, and how do we have an effective goals using 3M technique, and how do we perform the proper writing it up using Cornell methodology of 5R technology, and how do we uh, perform the an effective reading comprehensions using SQ 5R technology. So in that similar line, let us also discuss about how do we effectively organize the given information. So one thing that we need to really understand that if you have the information in front of you, if you effectively organize the information or effectively organize the data, then that activity itself would give you an additional information. You remember that the data might not change, but once you organize the data in a proper classification mode, then that itself would give us a additional information. And that's what we can also call it as applied thinking. So you can see that the applied thinking would come only when you perform the classification of the data in an effective way or organizing the given data in an effective way. So in the last videos, we understood the goals technique, which is 3M, which is the uh, mind over the motivation over the methodology, which means this goal, our goal today is to have the better um, organization of the data. So if you think this 3M methodologies, so you need to first think about the uh, what part of the data. Okay, so all kinds of equations related to the data, that what is this data is all about, what is the nature of the data is all about, who is your audiences if you really wanted to present this data to the opponents. And so that kind of information you should be able to have such kind of a survey. Okay, survey or scanning, so that you will have an idea on how do we effectively classify the data based upon the survey that you are having on the data. So that is one thing that you would need to do. And if you come to the motivation, the thing is that you need to first understand why you really need to classify the data. What is in it for you? What is the purpose that you really need to have this kind of a organization of this data? Is it something that is needed, that you need to create a presentation, or is it something that you need to have some kind of a session that you are going to conduct in front of the audience? So that kind of motivational that you should have before you classifying the data or organizing the data. So that purpose itself would definitely drive you. And with the survey, you would definitely get a kind of an idea on how the organizational of the data can be done. Okay. So with that, you, for example, if you see this information, like you are very hungry, okay, like your purpose is to eat the food. So once you go out, your data is already organized. Like you will see the food, the area, the information that is related to the food items and the information that is non-food items. So your purpose is clear. So in that way, your hungry is something like the motivation is something like what is the real motive behind you are actually trying to classifying or assimilating or organizing the data. So once you are really clear about what is the data is all about and why you wanted to classify the data, then you are, let us think about the methodologies, right? So we have various methodologies that we have around us, uh, because we are in the digital age. So we do have a lot of digital apps that is helping us to provide the effective classification of the given data. Let's say, for example, there is a lot of apps that is giving us how do we create the data in a visual representation mode. or how do we create mind maps, or how do we create the diagrams such as Venn diagrams or different kinds of tabular forms. So nowadays, the topmost methodology point is to see if you could be able to effectively create a visible representation of the data. Okay, so there is a lot of dynamic tools that has been available in our market to ensure that you would be able to convert the linear data into the visual representation, which is very much effective. Not only like comprehending that topic, but it's also like if you wanted to add an additional data, you would be keep on adding the data on top of the diagrams or mind map if you already there. So the topmost priority I would give is to find out any tools that is helping you to create a data in a visible mode, which is always an effective way. So if you see like data classification, so the another thing that I would like to give is like if you want to classify further, you need to have a something, you need to tag with known thing. Okay, for example, that's what we see in reading comprehensions or in the writing mode. Let's say in writing, if you wanted to effectively write, what you need to do, you need to use the 5R techniques. The first R is something like you record the data, and the second is reduction, or reduction is nothing but having to have a proper encapsulated form, so that you will be able to kind of understand the entire information using the acronym, or using the keyword, or using kind of a mnemonic. So this is so basically based upon that acceleratory, you would be able to effectively decrypt the information. In the similar lines, if you see here in these situations for the organizations, any data or any kind of a topic that can be classified, okay, that can be classified with with known content, right, with known things. So what are all the various known things that we have, okay, so that you can classify it, right? There is a widely used uh, uh, classification methodologies that is called latch, okay, that is called LATCH, latch methodology. The word latch means, you know, the device that you use to the door to lock inside, that's called a latching. Okay, latch is nothing but latch is not a lock, but it is kind of a locking inside, when you're inside and you're locking, right? So that's called latching. So latch is a kind of an acronym. Okay, so let us discuss more about what is this acronym and how it is decrypting the sentences the related to the organization of the data. For example, L means the location. Okay, so that means you're organizing the data based upon the location. Okay, for example, any kind of data that you pick it up, like you understand that there is a topic, and it seems to be that if you organize the data based upon the location. Okay, so based upon the location, then it is a very much effective. Okay, like let's say mappings, or if you see like any kind of geographical related, or for that matter, if you see any kind of let's say you are discussing about human anatomy. Okay, or so anything that if you wanted to clearly understand, okay, then you are actually classifying the data based upon the location. Okay, like if you wanted to just briefly describe about the human system, okay, and the parts of the human systems, right? Then you can easily think that, okay, the upper part is head, and the middle part is the body, and lower part is legs, and in that way you are classifying the data already, right? uh, so it is based upon the various directions. You can also say it's based upon the directions, and also it is based upon the inside or outside, or in the middle. So likewise, it's all about locations, right? So in that way you can be able to effectively categorize the data. That is what is all about L. So coming to this A means in the latch, in the A in the latch is nothing but an alphabet. So let's say, like, let's just think about the best example is the dictionary. Like you have a thousands of millions of words, but it is everything is arranged in alphabetical order. So it is very effective in terms of retrieving the information. That's what the beauty of the dictionary, right? So in that way, you are actually classifying the data in an alphabetical mode. See, one thing that you need to remember is alphabetical need not be a kind of a very sequential like A, B, C, D. It could be like a one kind of a word. Okay, like that what we are using this latch, or earlier also we use acronyms. So in that way, you can use this acronym, or you can use any kind of an alphabetical to entirely decrypt the information. So you can classify the data based upon the alphabet letters, right? Alphabetical letters. uh, Here, one thing that you need to understand, one caveat is that if you really wanted to classify the data based upon the acronym or any kind of keywords or any kind of alphabets, first make sure that you know that a keyword or acronym or mnemonics, then it will be effective. Otherwise, the keyword that you are being using, if you are not familiar, that itself become a kind of a confusing. So we have to be very careful in that situations. The next, the T in the latch is nothing but your time. So like for example, in once upon a time, whenever we used to have a kind of a grandma stories, so everything that is be based upon the chronological events, right? So you can be able to uh, some of the information you can be able to effectively categorize, okay, based upon the time events like past, present, and future. So in that way, you can be able to arrange it, right? So that is a chronological events, which is like any information, like even if you take the simple preparing the chicken soup, let's say, even that also you can be able to effectively arrange or organize based upon the time. Okay, the this is the time that we went, and again the evening we have taken like this, and then we took these ingredients in this time. So in that way, anything can be effectively be categorized based upon the time, which is also a chronological order. Like if you take like there are some kind of examples, likewise you take like you wanted to read some kind of stories, it's all based upon the chronological events, right? So that is all about time based is a chronological event. And coming to this C, which is a category. So the category is purely based upon the content of the data that you have, right? Based upon the content, you are going to, so based upon the content, actually, you are going to look into the content and see how you are going to classify the data. We don't know. It's actually huge domain. It's actually huge scope is there in the content. So you need to read the data to understand the information, right? Uh, so in this way, you will be able to effectively perform the categories. Like it all depends upon the data that you have. So coming to this our last part, which is H, which is like hierarchy. In the very best example is your organization. So organization data could be effectively be categorized, okay, based upon the hierarchical things that we have. If you go to the hospital, everything that the arrangements is based upon the importance that you have. Like for example, emergency room is something very easily available. Likewise, so that information also based upon the hierarchy, right? So in that way, you are actually categorizing the data based upon the hierarchical mode also. So overall, using this latch technique, you are be able to effectively categorize the data or classifying the data in very ineffective way. Okay, so but it all depends upon the data nature of the data, how you wanted to effectively categorize. It's all up to us. How do we look at the data? But overall, what really we need to understand is that if you, before you read the data, or if you wanted to present the data to someone, to see that if you are able to effectively classify the data using some kind of a methodologies based upon the nature of the data, then it is going to be effectively useful for you, and it will be very put into the in your long-term memory, and can be retrieve the data in a fingertips. So I hope that this way of effectively organizing the data is much useful. And with that, let us get some kind of a new tip next day. Thank you very much, and thanks for your time.